How did Sanguinius, the great angel, get his wings? Of all the Primarchs, the one that looks the most different after their little jaunt through the warp was Sanguinius. He got wings at some point between leaving Terra and landing on Baal. As a babe, Sanguinius and the other Primarchs had been in the Master of Mankind's lab, protected by a Geller field, and they were released by Erda, mother of the Primarchs. She switched off the Geller fields, and the ruinous powers then sucked the babes into the warp. And when the great angel lands on Baal, after his journey there, he is his namesake, an angel with wings. So what happened? Why didn't he appear with two heads like Zaphod Beeblebrox? Why the wings? And why did the other Primarchs not have visible changes as well? I have a working theory to answer this. Let's go through the working. First, the Emperor, when he meets Sanguinius, is asked by him, "What is he?" And the Blood Angel's Primarch gets a psychic response from his father. "You are my son," said the Emperor. And again, meanings and concepts danced between those words. "You are my son" was overlaid by "You are a Primarch, and you are my 9th General, and you are a component of the great work, and you were stolen by the enemy, and, most unsettling of all, you may have been changed by them." So he gives that answer when asked specifically about the wings. He says, "You may have been changed by them, the power of the warp." Now, time in the warp is different depending on where you are. It can move slowly for you, quickly, or not move at all. Whatever the effects, when you come back into the real world, time snaps back onto you and starts moving forward again. Think of the time in the warp like a tide coming in and out. You're never quite sure how much the time is affecting you or how deep you are into it. So a ship, the classic example, a ship could enter during the Dark Age of technology and emerge in M41. So you also see there's a time movement aspect in the Materium as well. So Sanguinius could have been in there for quite a long time, or a short time, we don't know, and he could be reached from other points in the Materium timeline, as you can see with the example of that ship. So keep that in mind. Now, what matters is when you're in the warp, you are in the souls. Everything in there is made from souls, the energy of the warp. They are the grains on the breach that can be willed into anything. And think of someone like the Emperor. All those prayers find him and empower him. So they must travel through the warp to reach him on his throne, or perhaps his cast-off aspect from the end and the death. Not too clear. But he definitely gets some power from the belief of the people in the Imperium. In M41, the belief of the people in the Imperium also extends to another person, one of the Emperor's sons, Sanguinius. His death is a heroic sacrifice to those of that time who believe in him. They have a date in the calendar called Sanguinala. It's a religious holiday that commemorates the sacrifice of the great angel Sanguinius. All across the Imperium this is celebrated. People travel to Terra for this day, where in a fever they are indoctrinated with images of his final moment, his sacrifice, the wings, etc. Think on that, and it being boosted and promoted by the Ecclesiarchy across the Imperium. We see this in the vaults of Terra, and of all the sacred days ordained for the masses to partake in, by far the most sacred was the remembrance of the angel Sanguinala, the Red Feast, the festival of the blessed sacrifice. On that day, once every solar year, the numbers on Terra swelled beyond reason, and the pilgrims crammed like cattle into the feeder stations, clawing at the gates and screaming at the guards to let them in. The most exalted of all, so they said, will be permitted to approach the Eternity Gate itself to witness the rites of remembrance performed on the site of the angel's legendary stand as the feast reached its frenetic climax. So there are those beliefs in energy going towards Sanguinius in some aspect. Another source of belief that we can look at in addition to the prayers are those from Baal itself that have coalesced into two spirits, one dark and one light, spirits in the warp. They are seen by Mephiston as he directs a ship in the warp, and it hints they are always clashing with each other. Two angels at war, one of gold, one of darkness. They have been at war forever, even before humans came to Baal. Those who dwelled here in distant epochs, they knew the angels of gold and black, though they did not see them as you see them. These creatures are the reflections of your bloodline. The golden angel is your purity, the black angel is your flaw. The golden spirit is the Sanguinius, and the black has no host till Mephiston takes it. And it's the bloody angel here speaking to Mephiston. It has no anchor as time has passed and your bloodline degenerated. It has gone stronger and stronger until now, with the great rift open, it becomes the mightiest it has ever been, and the Sanguinius is no longer enough to balance it. I, the black angel, became embodied in Mephiston. And note that part, they've been around for a long time, since before humans came to Baal. I'm also a strong believer that the Primarchs are warped spirits in emperor-made bodies. So basically, he made these superpowered bodies, and then made a deal with or stole knowledge from the ruinous powers, the demon rulers of the warp on Molech, and then use this final pinch of magic to infuse the bodies of the Primarchs with spirits, as I like to call them, warp spirits, or warp demons, or non-aligned to chaos demons, however you want to understand it. I just prefer the term warp spirits. These were put into the bodies of various Primarchs. These two I just mentioned, I believe, into the body of Sanguinius and bound to him, thus his noble and savage personas. Due to the worship of these spirits in the past by those of Baal and others before them, that belief in them has made these two spirits, which were later bound in the Sangman himself. That worship continues, and now that belief and the winged images that accomplish it can be combined with the belief coming from those in the Imperium. I think these things have reached him as he journeyed through the warp, the belief of those two factors, and they shaped him and moulded him in the images from those times. Now we know from Corvus Corax within the warp that when the Primarchs are there for a period of time, they begin to lose their physical form, and more of what is inside or beneath is revealed. He says to Lorgar as they face off, "This place beyond the veil has revealed what we all are, underneath the veneer of humanity. Our Father crafted for us. We are of the warp." I'm not saying the warp has mutated or changed Corvus Corax. I'm saying that's what was inside him all this time, like the spirits above Baal in Sanguinius. And we know belief can then shape. Think of the Tau God and how it looks. It's very much based on the belief in the greater good by those that have psychic abilities or potential. So the belief shapes the energy of the warp into something new, or what is already there, like a little baby Primarch. So I believe that whilst travelling through the warp, he was mutated, but the beliefs of Baal and of the Imperium made that happen and gave him the great angel's wings. And due to the time in the warp, this shaping could have come from different points in the timeline. That's my theory at least. So that leaves a question: how come no other Primarchs had warp changes of this ilk? None that we know about at least. Simply, only one is worshipped by the Imperial cult and pushed by the wheels of the Ecclesiarchy. Let me know what you think of this theory. Is there anything to add to this that might aid it, or anything that might make it look like it's a terrible theory? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to know more about the Blood Angels, there's another video you can check out in the corner.